Hello, everyone, and welcome to IGNITE's third podcast. It's exciting today. We have two guests joining us, and we're going to be talking the whole time about Call of Duty. I don't know a lot about it, so I brought in two professionals at the game. They boast some pretty good stats between them, top 5% kill death ratio in Warzone, and they've been playing between them just about 2 decades. So, Emmett, thanks for joining me, and Luis as well. Thank you very much for joining me. So, we can just start talking about season 5 if you guys want. What do you guys think about it? Emmett.
Season 5 so far has been pretty interesting. The first article that we're going to talk about is Call of Duty kind of announced using their Battle Royale over the next several Call of Duties, kind of using this engine that they've built and just improving upon it, I guess modifying it for whatever the new games are. I'm kind of interested to see where that goes. When the next game gets released, is Modern Warfare's version of Warzone just going to get shut off? Are they just going to completely migrate it? Is it going to be a full separate download from a game in the future? I'm curious to see kind of where that goes and where Infinity Ward actually picks up from Activision and how they work together on actually making that work with their games in between each other.
Yeah. And you guys both play a lot of Warzone. Are you excited now that you know it's not going to be going away with the next Call of Duty?
Yeah, I think they have a lot of things to fix with their engine. They still have a lot of sound problems and just some issues that have popped up here and there. Um, but overall, I think it's a good thing. I do worry when games start to reuse engines how quickly those become outdated as new hardware and stuff comes out. So it'll be interesting to see kind of 5 years from now is do they update the engine with every game, and if so, how much? And is it still a really good game to play 5 years from now on the new hardware?
Yeah, because one of the things that I think is going to be interesting is if they're going to keep bringing in new maps and new characters and skins from the Call of Duty games that follow, they're going to need to render those. They're going to need to have a similar engine as whatever the new game is. So I assume that they're going to be upgrading it as it goes on, which means we're probably still going to have a 100 gigabyte Warzone update to deal with all the time.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Luis, because I know you've played a decent bit of it, is that Warzone being free to play? Do you think that that's kind of a big deal for Call of Duty to
Oh
continue
yeah,
on?
I think yeah, for sure. Well, I think Call of Duty had the opportunity to do this about a year ago. I think Blackout was a much better battle royale. There's a lot of professional players. Formal from the Chicago Huntsman also agrees, but he's also one of the best players in that game. So I'm sure he has his reasons. Shroud has actually mentioned it before that he also enjoyed Blackout, but the only downfall was is that you had to buy the full game to get on there to go and play it. Now they had to free to play, like a lot of the BRs that were coming out in that time span in regards to Fortnite. PUBG got a little bit cheaper down the road, but there's also a handful of other battle royales that were coming out at the time that were just free to play. Apex Legends is another great example in that time frame as well, and people just kind of steered away from it. And I think they really had an opportunity to do something there, and they kind of dropped the ball early into the game. And then they soon realized that free to play is the way to go.
Yeah, I was surprised when Warzone was announced because they had already tried it, with COD, Black Ops 4's Battle Royale. So I thought it was strange that there was another Battle Royale game coming out this quickly. But I mean, they've spent a lot of time with it, so it's working for them. And I know the Battle Pass system for Call of Duty, it makes them a lot of money, so they can support a free product, a free Battle Royale, because they make a lot of money off of it. So it works well for them.
Absolutely. I also like to look at it as talking about the sustainability of the game. Are we going to be able to play this game for multiple years on end? And I think there's an obvious fan base for it. Nick Merckx is a great example of somebody who did play in the Call of Duty scene at one point in the competitive landscape, and then kind of steered off into Fortnite. And then once he came back to Call of Duty, he also brought a lot more viewership of his previous viewers that watched him for Call of Duty aspect and not for the Fortnite aspect. So I think if they're able to install more maps, as in regards to famous maps, as in Terminal and other maps within the Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3 history, I think they have an opportunity to continue to expand, but they need to make sure they're acting quick and they're releasing good downloads. Recently, in the past couple of days, A lot of people have been very frustrated with the new updates and have been unable to play, long streams on it. So they got to make sure they're releasing good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that it's something they're still working on because it was a little while when each of the updates comes out, so many people come into it, and one of the big things that hurting them right now is that along with the free-to-play battle royale, they were also offering a free-to-play multiplayer game types that anyone could do. And so I know they have a
Yeah.
lot of people that were actually getting onto that playing in the servers. So it's just one of those things where their servers were kind of struggling. Have you guys played much of Season 5 at
Mm-hmm.
all? Emmett?
Emmett,
I
have you
haven't
played at
played a
all?
whole lot of I haven't played a whole lot of season 5 yet. I've watched a lot of content on it. And my biggest grief with what I've seen and from Call of Duty in general is how slowly they react to things that are getting exploited in their game. Most games that are considered highly competitive are going to be very quick to patch something or nerf something that's considered overpowered. Call of Duty does have some other challenges with that right now. The big deal is the Bruin. People, you can laser somebody with the Bruin across the map, like no problem. And it has like one of the fastest time to kills. And overall, it's just pretty much better than every weapon in Warzone right now. But Call of Duty, with it being attached to their multiplayer as well, they have to think about nerfing a weapon and what it does in both multiplayer and Warzone, not just Warzone. There have been some talks about having Warzone specific stats for guns and multiplayer specific stats for guns, but that kind of makes a disconnect, and then you're not really sure what you're playing with when you go between the game modes. Now, if Warzone eventually moves to just be its standalone game, then that won't matter so much, and they'll be able to change the theme to match whatever the newest Call of Duty is over the years. But I think that they should move towards kind of separating it versus having it kind of very closely intertwined with the normal Call of Duty game.
That makes sense. Right now, are the two studios that we have Activision and Treyarch? Are they the two that alternate?
It's I
Yeah,
think
they are.
Infinity Ward.
Infinity. Okay, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's Infinity Ward and Treyarch. Yeah.
And do we know for sure that what's going to be interesting is if the new one ends up being a Cold War era game, they're going to have totally different guns, different gameplay mechanics. So it's going to be kind of fun to see how they'll switch over the battle royale because you can't just bring in a few of the guns because, like you just said, there's going to be balancing issues. So I mean, it might be sort of like how Fortnite does their seasons, where we get totally different gameplay. They almost restructure the way that all of the items work. So I would assume that that's kind of what we have to expect, but we don't know. I guess we'll see when the next one comes out, really, when Treyarch announces it.
I think they have the
Yeah.
opportunity to do something really cool here, with moving between those time periods, like we're talking about. Fortnite did an amazing job of like doing this story kind of amongst the seasons and the changes to the map and everything. I think Call of Duty could write a really cool story that could signal the end of the modern warfare Warzone and transfer us into a Black Ops Warzone, and from there to a World War II, and on and on and on. And I think they could write a really cool story around that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they handle it, if they even bother doing that. And yeah, I'm also curious to see, with Warzone being free, is the normal game always going to be $60? $60 for a game now, at least on PC, is starting to feel very expensive. I understand it's a AAA title, but if they're making all of this money off of battle passes and skin purchases and stuff like that, why limit your player base to people that are willing to pay $60 to the game? Why not just give it to them for free and see if they love it so much that they start buying these battle passes?
Yeah, something that I want to mention on that is uh, I really don't see them transitioning from a modern warfare aspect to a Cold War landscape because I think Treyarch is really trying to separate themselves from Infinity Ward, especially in this past year in the true competitive CDL landscape. The competitive players are not happy with them. The gun imbalances, the late meta changes right before massive tournaments, and they've always commended Treyarch for being able to respond to what the competitive players have to say. And so I don't think they want to intertwine themselves totally with Infinity Ward because they don't want to tarnish the legacy of pretty much producing some of the best Call of Duty games we've ever seen outside of Modern Warfare 2 and Modern Warfare 3. So it will be a truly interesting play to see how they co-inhabitate in the same year, two different developers.
Yeah, and we can kind of take a soft segue here because I know Luis, you know a lot about Call of Duty League. Do you? Because I don't know too much about it. What are the players' reception on this Modern Warfare for Call of Duty League?
It's funny that you asked because
Yeah.
they are not happy this year. There's a few factors that come into play that were out of everybody's hands. Obviously, everybody's completely aware of COVID-19 and the coronavirus sweeping the world by storm. And so that's affected them to then transition from a LAN tournaments, which local area networks in which they are all connected um, uh, on an area network in which there's no latency issues, there's no connection issues to the servers. Nobody has an advantage because they have one up, one down internet service when somebody else has AT&T at an apartment complex, and guess what? Somebody cut a wire outside. They don't know that the professional players playing inside for hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions. So it's just so many things out of people's hands. People having to teams having to play 4v5. Seattle Surge, I remember playing, I think it was the New York Subliners, had to go and play a 4v5 when they were up on match count. Ended up losing that game and ended up losing the series because Slack had his internet cut inside his apartment complex. There's nothing they can do about that. And there's a lot of beef in the community as well. Early on, preseason, the Dallas Empire took over the online scene before they got to play on their first local area network tournament. I think they lost one map against all pro teams. They go and essentially they play on their first local area network tournament, and then they got beat by the Chicago Huntsmen. And if people know about the drama between the two team rosters, a lot of the team players from both teams used to be on Optic Gaming the year before. So there's a lot of smack talk, and there's a famous video of Chicago Huntsman Scumpy just flicking off the camera and saying F you to Crim 6 and having a good old laugh and saying, we're better than you and we know it. So now that it's online, everything's been turned on its head and people aren't happy.
Yes, for sure. And like you said, I mean, a lot of that for CDL, it's out of their hands. They're trying to make the most of a global pandemic. And so it's with esports in general, we've talked about it, it's interesting to see how different leagues, how different games and communities are kind of making their game work in this landscape. So it is nice that there are still tournaments going on, for sure. Now,
sorry, I was just saying as a viewership, we're lucky that the CDL continues to do that. And if you've been watching all the productions week to week for the new tournaments, they're killing it, and people give them a lot of hate, and their segues going from different commercials, it's all very smooth, and we're lucky to have that as a league. So I really hope some of the target audience turns around and can appreciate what we have right now.
Yes. And then another question I have for you, because we're getting to that time of year where we should probably start to hear rumors about the next Call of Duty. Do the players in CDL usually like the Black Ops games more? Like what's generally played competitively?
It's not necessarily that it's Black Ops, like the storyline and the guns. It comes down to the feel of the game. Does it feel like the true first-person shooter FPS Call of Duty that we all grew up and learned to love? And that's just not what Modern Warfare was. The mechanics are very different. So transitioning back to Treyarch as the main developer of the game, they've knocked it out of the park 3 to 4 or 5 times before. There's no reason why they can't do it again. They've listened before in the past, and hopefully they're still listening now and saying, the professional players, they want the old Call of Duty back, and a lot of the amateur players want it back as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Today I had played Hard Hat for the first time, and Hard Hat is a map that's on Modern Warfare now, but was originally on Modern Warfare 3. It used to be one of my favorite maps on Modern Warfare 3. Playing it today, it's a different movement system, it's different gunplay. I really didn't enjoy the map playing it today. And that's just, like you said, it's just the Modern Warfare plays differently than I think most players are used to, most old school players are used to, for sure.
Yeah, the mechanics are just a lot different. I remember back in Blackout, I had a crazy run where I was playing solo 1v1s for blackout wagers, and I got to 22-0. I made like $400 in a week, and I thought I was on top of the world, and I loved it. Then I lost 7 games straight and lost half my money, and I was like, I'm just gonna cash out. But looking back on that, I mean, the mechanics were great, everything was smooth, and on a competitive landscape, I enjoyed it. It was fun. Now, when we come to Modern Warfare, it's just it doesn't. The second I picked up the game, I was like, what am I playing? How am I supposed to be the best at this like I was before? And it just I feel like there was a different edge and a different type of play style that had to be improved on to be the best.
Yeah, that makes sense. And Emmett, yeah.
It's a very heavy feeling game, even on PC. I mean, you're looking at top PC specs that can't even run this game at 240 frames. That's how you just know the game's heavy. When you're having 40 plus gigabyte updates every time something minor comes out, the game is just very heavy, and it feels like that when you play it. I understand the pursuit for this amazing graphics and stuff like that, and I've watched some of my gameplay clips back, and when an RPG flies past your head and all of these sparks are flying and the smoke trail, and it really does look amazing, but at what cost? You lose so much in the feel of the game, and especially if you're talking about at a competitive level, I could care less about this 4K smoke trail flying past my face. I just needed to know that a rocket flew past my face, and that's good enough for me. So I sure hope that Treyarch will make a game that feels better. I wonder if this being the first crossplay one has anything to do with some of these issues. And I also wonder if Treyarch is now forced into doing crossplay whether they wanted to or not because of the success of Modern Warfare. And I sure hope that that is definitely a thing, because for the first time ever, I've gotten to play a game that I love with some of my friends who have only been on console, and I've never gotten to play games very seriously with them before. So I think that has also been fantastic for the Call of Duty game this round.
And when you do have crossplay, you kind of have to build the game out for whatever the weakest link is. For the new Call of Duty, they are going to have the advantage of more than likely a new PlayStation coming out and a new Xbox coming out that they can try and build for. But even still, they have to support the original Xbox Ones and the PlayStation 4s. And so it's difficult with crossplay because it limits what you can do. Now you can change them graphically on the systems, but as a baseline, you have to make an engine that runs well in both and can work simultaneously. So I do think it hurts them having the crossplay for sure.
That is also something that worries me about the Warzone being the engine that's going to be used for the future games. Like we just said, the mechanics and the movement don't feel as good as older Call of Duty games, and that being the standard going forward does worry me, especially since those weren't the first things that were fixed. I mean, they've made the sound and stuff a little bit better, but I remember when it first came out and somebody would be shooting, across the map, and it would sound like it was right next to you, and stuff like that. And that should be the number one thing fixing it, especially if you're going to invest in this platform for years to come. Then you should be making sure it is the best possible that it can be in this first game, and then make all your money off the crazy good content that you want to throw out there in later games.
Yes, that makes sense. As a pure speculation, pretty much, since Modern Warfare had a free Battle Royale mode, do you think that when we get the new Treyarch games, since zombies is kind of what they do best, do you think that this might be one of the first years we see a free zombies to go along with it? Luis, what do you think?
That would be cool. I stopped playing zombies after World at War. That's when I really started getting into competitive playing. But I mean, if it was free to play, do you know how many people would come back to enjoy those times of staying up till 7 a.m. to get a bowl of cereal after you just gamed all night with your friends in the basement? I mean, I remember countless nights of doing that just to run around in a circle and get hordes and mow them down with a LMG or something. I mean, it was just so much fun. But so yeah, that would be cool. I really think they could, tap into one of their, missing audiences that haven't played that game in years. So that would be super cool.
Yeah. And now, just so I know, is Activision, do they just produce each of the games? So Infinity Ward makes one, Treyarch makes one, and then does Activision Blizzard, are they just the what? Do you know?
That's a good question. I'm not sure how it's really structured.
Yeah, cause I know they've changed it because Sledgehammer was absolved many years ago, and so things have moved around. So I just really what I'm wondering is to what level can we expect these games to be? Because like Emmett said, the next Call of Duty might have to have cross-platform play just because that's what preceded it, even though it's two different companies developing the game. So it's interesting to see moving forward because I would say crossplay worked well for them. So it's something. It's going to be interesting to see kind of how the landscape changes with the new games.
Yeah. So it is
Crossplay.
published. Or go ahead.
Oh,
Go
sorry.
ahead. Go ahead.
Crossplay on free zombies. If zombie was free with crossplay, that would be legendary for that game. That would be as legendary as for this game, them just having crossplay and battle royale. Uh, the fact that buddies that I've never played with before could hop on Xbox and I could hop on my PC and we could go play zombies for 8 hours would be a really big deal for that game. And if they are going to have a battle royale as well, there's just so many pieces of content and good game modes now that feel very different in the Call of Duty world. So the amount of time that would be spent in that game in many different ways would be unbelievable.
Yeah, and Luis, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say I was trying to answer your question real quick. So Call of Duty is published by Activision, but the developers of the games alternate through Infinity Ward and Treyarch.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Just so everybody knows.
Yeah, that's good. One thing, because right, if we're probably gonna have a battle pass system because those work so well, I just think it'd be incredible to have you're playing zombies with a battle pass system kind of going in the background. I mean, that would be. I think a lot of people would enjoy that, and I've liked all of Treyarch's games. I mean, I loved playing Blackout. I It's difficult for me to say which battle royale I liked more. I think I probably put more hours into Modern Warfare's at this point, but Blackout just because it worked so well. At that point, I was really playing Apex though, so I think that's kind of what took me from it. But so back to you, Luis. We can kind of talk a little bit more about CDL if you want. Do you think that? Okay, I guess first of all, is CDL as an esports? Is it a sector like? Do they struggle getting viewers right now, or what's it like?
Their average viewership has gone up this year. I saw a study earlier, I think maybe a month or so ago, that their viewership has increased since last year. But it makes sense now that they have a more direct strategy of marketing. Now that they franchised since last year, it was originally just organizations, but now it's a structured league in which they have a lot more sponsorships, a lot more money, and bigger organizations that are running the teams. So I think that's a prime reason. Also, I think there's a little bit more marketability with a lot of the teams now that they are tied to cities. Now people can be attached to something without having previous knowledge of the players or teams that have now transitioned into this franchise structure. So, like for instance, Atlanta FaZe. I mean, come on, how can I not support the Atlanta FaZe? One, FaZe is just it's a legacy of its own. So it's nice to know that we have one of the biggest gaming organizations in the world as our headquarters for CDL. They brought on some of the Migos rappers as some of our brand ambassadors because they're based out of Atlanta, and they were able to bring a few of them. I think maybe one of them was able to show up to the homestand this year, one of the few homestands that got to go live. And they also had Nick Merckx and a bunch of other FaZe people that have been involved in Call of Duty. So I think that really was able to bring a community together. And guess what? All the people that showed up to that homestand are still watching to this day. So it's really good on that part. I think so. So the viewership has not been struggling; it's been increasing, but I think there's a lot more room to grow. So it's 1 year franchise. We got plenty more behind us to come. So hopefully it'll continue to grow year over year.
Absolutely, yeah, and the fact that I mean they've been around for so long, they know what they're doing. You said like you said, the production quality is high. They're really doing it well, within the esports market.
Probably some of the highest production quality in esports right now. I've watched a decent amount of different games in esports, and Call of Duty just does a fantastic job. They have an excellent team behind them.
Yeah, that's good. And if you guys want, we can keep kind of talking about Call of Duty, or as a little segment, each of you guys sent me a picture because we were getting some feedback about the podcast on the other episodes, and one of the things we heard from a couple of people is that they kind of want the podcast to be sort of like entry friendly so that anyone can watch. And one of the things that I got specifically with Call of Duty is people kind of want to know what guns you guys are running. So I don't know if one of you is ready, but if you want, you can kind of pull up your gun. I will pull it up on here so they can see. And I guess, Emmett, if you're ready, we can start with you. And just kind of talk
you
us
start.
through.
I like your gun a lot.
Yeah, and just talk about like your attachments, why you run it, and kind of your thoughts behind all of it.
So I've been running this gun pretty much the entire time in Warzone since the Ram 7 came out. I max leveled it so I could have all the attachments, and then I've just kind of stuck with it. And I am one of those guys that's scrolling through TikTok or YouTube. I watch all of Nick Merck's videos of, oh, this gun's overpowered this week. This is what you should be using. And I've never switched from this because a long time ago I heard a pro player talk about playing some of these games, and he said, never use what's overpowered. Is like, that's just going to be a crutch for you and you'll never actually get better at the game. Use what you like, and then at some point it'll probably be overpowered if they nerf everything else. So same if you were going to play a game like Valorant or Siege, use the operator you like with what you like, and don't worry about what's overpowered in that instant or not, because game metas change all the time. And if every time a new gun is the meta, I have to go level it up for 8 hours just to get all the attachments for it to make it the meta gun, then that's a little too much for me. So this gun, the way I have it set up is it's a normal assault rifle, and I have it set up for better accuracy and range. What this enables me to do is most of the fights that I take in Warzone are over 100 meters. A lot of time it's that mid to long range fighting. I don't push buildings very often personally. I find myself dying a lot in those cases, so I try and keep it into the open fields, or I can even peek at snipers if they're not very good with this kind of gun, because you can just put 8 bullets right on the target, which makes them freak out while they're sniping. So it gives me a little bit of an advantage there. 50-round mags, which is enough to wipe a squad of 3, maybe not 4. As long as you're hitting your shots, you can really take down a lot of people with this very quickly. And yeah, it's just been consistent for me over a long time. Very low recoil, very high range. I love the VLK 3.0 optic on PC, and I come from Siege, so it's very important to have the smallest red dot possible, so you still know where the center of the screen is, but it doesn't block what you're seeing, and the VLK is what gives that to you. So yeah.
One of the things I want to note on, because I've watched your streams a few times, and I think the 50-round mag is really important, because there's been some where you've been outnumbered, but because you kind of have the bullets, you don't have to stop and reload, and you can, so long as you land the shots, you can win fights where you're kind of the underdog. But yeah, it's a very nice build, for sure.
Definitely.
And then Luis, if you want to talk about yours.
Yeah, so this is the one of many guns I use. Honestly, when I'm playing Warzone, I just kind of grab what I feel like grabbing. I have a Bruin set up, M4, Kilo, the Growl. Growl was the meta for a while, and I kind of just grab whatever I feel like playing with. So right now I'm showing you my Kilo setup. I like this one because it's one of the first guns I got gold on, and it's just something that's always been like kind of like old reliable for me. I think it's fun. So right now I got a muzzle attachment for a tactical suppressor that kind of improves your range and maybe a little bit of your damage. Also, I have a Commando foregrip as the underbarrel. That's just the go-to foregrip for pretty much any assault rifle. I also have the Syngard Arm 16 6-inch SOCOM barrel, and I think that's probably one of the best barrels. It gets more velocity on the bullets and improves the damage and range overall. So when you're doing that mid to long range, like Emmett was talking about with a typical gunfight in Warzone, you're not missing much, and you're hitting hard. So that's pretty key. And I also use the boomer scope, the VLK 3x optic. As Tifu would call it, the boomer scope. I think it's so funny that he hates on it and just uses just a normal iron sight. But I think this is obviously the go-to. It's so minimal, but yet so effective. And if you're able to use your hip fire, if you're accurate hip fire, I mean, most of the time you're using ADS anyway. So if you're able to put the 50 rounds into the guy like I'm using on my 50-round mag, you're going to knock him and take him all the way out. And that's super key. You don't want people to be self-resing or having 1 health left and being able to get capped by a teammate. So you always want to try to end them when you can.
Yeah, and you as well. I mean, both of you 3x optics, 50-round mags. You both said it really well, that in Warzone, those are kind of the fights you want to take. It's good to have, you get two guns. It's good to have kind of something that covers in between. And if you can win the fight at range, you'd much rather do that than accidentally run up on someone in a house or something. And so I'll go back to you, Emmett. Just for someone maybe who isn't too good at Warzone, you've won many times. Kind of, what's your piece of advice to someone who's struggling at making it to the final 10 or something?
Making it to the final. So there's different things. You play Warzone for different reasons, right? You can play Warzones because you want action, or you can play to win. If you're new and you want to win, you probably have to take as few fights as possible and then just win one of the last fights. But if you actually want to get good at Warzone, then you need to be going for those hot drops, or at least a drop where maybe there's one other team there. That's normally how I like to play. Get one other team there, be able to grab a weapon without getting meleeed to death before you even get to the first crate, turn around, take the fight, hope you win it, and then move on from there. But yeah, I mean, the only way you get good at games is to actually take the fights. You're never going to get good at winning fights consistently unless you go for it. So when Luis and I play together, he has this place next to airport that he loves to drop, and we drop there, and normally there's 3-4 other teams. We're picking up bounties all the time, just hunting people down, because it's much more fun to play that way. No one wants to sit in the building and just wait till the final circle and then maybe win, maybe not. If you're a brand new player and you wait to the final circle to take your first fight, not only are your hands going to be sweating because you're freaked out, your head's not going to be in the game. The team you're about to go up against probably has 20 kills combined. So the chances of you winning that are slim anyway. But if you're trying to just get your first win and you're not good yet, then that's always an option.
Yeah, that's good advice. Now for you, Luis, because I know you play Warzone a decent bit, but I've watched you play. I played with you multiplayer. You're pretty impressive at it. What is your advice to someone who's struggling in multiplayer?
In multiplayer, every Call of Duty now pretty much gives you a competitive option, so you can go play CDL playlist in this current Call of Duty. If you're just now starting off playing Call of Duty, I wouldn't recommend to play that because you're not going to get a kill. You're not going to understand the rotations of the maps and understand where you need to be and what lanes you should or should not be holding down. But if you're trying to get better, it's really just about learning kind of how every single map works, the insides and outsides of buildings, understanding what type of angles other teams can be taking in order to find you. Typically, Call of Duty multiplayer is a 3-lane map, not so much in this Call of Duty, but in all the previous ones before. And being able to cut the map in half is essential. So if you're playing a search and destroy and you need to cover a portion of the map because your other teammates are holding down a bomb, if you're capable of holding down a lane that allows you to see most of the cross, you're able to then alert your team saying, hey, I have action over here, I need help, or hey, there's nobody over here, y'all are going to be getting a gunfight, so be ready.
That's really good advice. As kind of a way to help for me, because I'm not very good at Call of Duty. When I play with you guys, it's very obvious that you guys are quite a bit better. To someone who's, if you are playing with friends or something and you can tell that you're the weaker link, it's just have fun. Try and, if you're playing the Battle Royale, try and follow their lead. If you find yourself, kind of dying a lot, don't run off. It's really just about you keep playing. It takes practice. It takes time. If you are someone younger who maybe has been watching the esports scene, it just takes time. A lot of the people playing have been playing for over a decade at this point, Call of Duty competitively.
Real quick, breaking down most competitive games, there's like 3 main focuses for me in any game that you're trying to be competitive at. And you have basically mechanics, game knowledge, which normally is map knowledge, and then communication. And you can do the first 2 just by yourself. You can sit in an aim trainer if you want to. If you're on PC, you can walk through all of the maps empty and learn exactly where all the spots are. All of those things just take time. Anybody can improve those things. Once you find yourself a group of friends that you like to play with consistently, learning how each other communicates, making sure you learn the call outs, which again comes from map knowledge, and just efficiently and meaningfully telling all the information that you need to your teammates can absolutely take a group of mediocre players to consistently winning in almost every game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. For sure. You said it well. And kind of as part of Ignite, we all stream. We're trying to stream more. Lucan, if you want to kind of talk about it, or Emmett, who plays as Lucan 58, are you planning on streaming a little more? What are you thinking?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of going back and forth between Call of Duty and Valorant, depending on the night. I want to get back into Valorant because their esports scene is starting to pick up. They just launched a new character as well. So I want to be in that game enough where I don't just forget everything. Because I know it will eventually turn out to be a game like Rainbow Six, where, like we've said multiple times on this podcast, you pretty much have to read a dictionary of information before you can even play that game because of all the characters and maps and spots and everything, and I don't want to lose all of that. I don't think that I'm ever going to be the absolute top of Valorant. Coming up into that game, going up against guys that have 10,000 hours in CS and are just mechanically better than me and will be for a long time. It's hard to say that I would be that good at that game. But Call of Duty for me is a great game that I've been playing since Call of Duty 4. This is the first one that I played on PC, and it's just always consistent. It's always a fun game. It's always a fun game to play with your friends. So it's awesome game for when I'm at the end of the day. I want to fire up the stream. I'll fire up Warzone, get a couple buddies on, and just relax and play that. I'm always competitive, so I'm going to try and win. But yeah,
Of course, yeah. And Luis, I know you have a gaming rig on its way. Your computer's coming over. Are you streaming? And how can people find you if you are streaming?
Yeah, so I used to stream a little bit when I used to have my Xbox. I'm now on PlayStation 4. Xbox had the opportunity for you just to plug in a USB connection to a webcam. You can launch up your Twitch and it'll stream for you. You can't do really much more than that, but I was able to stream to my local friends and all the guys that always knew I was playing Call of Duty and putting hours into it. Now they can kind of see what I'm all about, and now then I could show off a little bit. So right now I am building all my social networks. So I do not have anything to kind of link or share right now. That's kind of to be announced, but I'm excited. I'm putting together something kind of cool, and I'm excited to share all my gameplay and interact with anybody that wants to come and chat in my audience.
For sure. Yeah, and we'll update on our Instagram, IGNTE.gg. Kind of look for it. And then if you guys want, I mean, Emmett or Luis, do you guys have anything more you guys want to talk about Call of Duty? Anything at all?
Yeah, I got one last thing I want to talk about.
For sure.
I guess it's my segment that I kind of planned for this. Everything else we've been talking a little bit loosely of, but the Call of Duty League Professional League is coming to an end. They played all the normal homestand season tournaments. Now it's coming down to the championship weekend. This is going to be the weekend of August 21st through the 23rd, I believe. Everybody in the world has the opportunity to make $100,000 at this. You can then go and fill out a bracket online, bracket.callofdutyleague.com. You log in with either your Activision, PlayStation, Xbox login, and you can then go and build out a bracket for all the teams that will be competing. Every single team in the league does compete. There is a ranking system. So there is a few teams that have buys, such as Atlanta FaZe and the Dallas Empire, who are the 1 and 2 seeds. But if you're able to make the perfect bracket, you're able to win $100,000. Now, every single game you win, you get a score multiplier. So if you take the subliners to beat the Minnesota Roker 3-1 and you hit that on the dot, you get X amount of points. And whoever has the most points at the end of the tournament gets $10,000. So even if you don't get the perfect bracket, but you get damn near close, you can still make a little bit of dough at this. So I recommend everybody just to give it a shot, even if you're not aware of who's the best. Just like I was saying earlier, it's online. The game has been flipped on its head. Literally anybody can go and make a run at this. So it really is up for grabs. I'm not going to tell you exactly who I have winning because I don't want to spoil my chances of making $100,000 or $10,000. But I wish everybody the best of luck once you go fill out that bracket. And let us know in the comment section what team you have winning and who they're playing against.
Yeah, I think what I'd like to do is later on see how your bracket did, because each of us should make one, and then we can look back and see who did the best.
Yeah, for sure.
And then just for everyone watching and listening, what was the website again?
It is bracket, bracket, bracket.callofdutyleague.com.
That's perfect. Yeah, I think that'd be fun. I do want each of us to try and make one because it'd be interesting to see. I don't really know much about CDL, so it'd be fun. Yeah, Emmett?
When is the deadline for this?
That's a great question. Honestly, I'm already logged in. I already have my thing built. Let me back up a little bit. Excuse me. Maybe it'll tell me. Um,
When does the grand final actually happen? I assume it's just before that date.
yeah, I guess it would be until the first game starts. Maybe a couple hours before that, you have a few moments to fill in a quick bracket. But like I said, the championship weekend, I believe, is August 21st through the 23rd. That's a Friday through the Sunday.
Okay.
So that's your chance to go and make some money.
Yeah,
Who knows? It could be free money in your pocket.
I'll put the details in the description for everything. And like you said, comment below who you think is going to win, who your kind of early predictions are. Anyone else have Call of Duty? Anything else they want to talk about?
I think that's it.
I think I covered everything I came here to talk about.
Yeah, that was good. So. Just general stuff then. Thank you everyone for watching. This is we got some feedback, so we wanted to try a streamlined, more content-specific podcast, so tell us what you think about that. As always, you can find us on Instagram, IGNTE.gg. Go to the website, just same thing, IGNTE.gg. What we're doing is we're recording the podcast. Each of these will go up as a video on YouTube on Thursday. You can find us on Anchor on Thursday as well. You can follow us right now. We're in the process of looking for new streamers, content creators. The brand IGNITE is it's a way of helping streamers. So we're working on a lot of different projects right now. And one of the things that we're looking for are people, streamers. Between the three of us, we're all going to start streaming soon to make content so you can kind of see and what to expect. But we want this to be a social platform for really anyone to come, anyone who wants anything to do with gaming, competitive or otherwise. And so if you do follow us on Instagram, if somehow you stumble across this video and you're not really sure how, because there have been quite a few people who have seen or listened to the podcast, if you do stumble across this, message us. We're friendly here. We kind of run everything, and we're looking for anyone. You know, if you are a small-time streamer, if you're just someone who likes playing video games and you kind of want people, a group to play video games with, that's what we're after. So thank you both for joining me, if that's everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Till next time.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Of course, yeah. Excellent episode. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And, yes, see you guys next Wednesday, Thursday.